What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Heads Project. I'm John Ordalaza, and today we're diving deep into Hawkeye Episode 3 spoilers. So if you have not seen the new episode or just aren't caught up with the new series, go catch up with the series. I will lend you my Disney Plus login. Just kidding. You thought. This new episode of Hawkeye brings the action. Let me just say that right out of the gate. It brings a little bit of heart to this new character that we got introduced to at the very end of episode 2. It's still not confirmed who she is. I forgot the name. They gave her a name in this episode. Damn it. She's a deaf character, and she's got a prosthetic leg. I still think it could be Echo. They haven't really said that. But they gave her a name. I totally forgot what the name was. But this is definitely... yeah, I'm thinking it's Echo. Before we get to all the action, it opens up with a flashback to 2007 with this young girl in class. She can barely hear anything. She's reading the lips of her teacher in school. And it's this girl. It's Echo. Let's just call her Echo for now because I don't remember if they gave her a name in this episode. And it's Echo. So we're doing a flashback introducing her character and where she comes from, her backstory. They introduced her father figure and how much of a bond that they have together. And he's kind of dealing with the Tracksuit Mafia. I don't know if he exactly was the leader of the Tracksuit Mafia, but he's certainly got some ties into them. So as Echo's growing up, she learns how to box, and she has this very traumatizing experience when she sees Ronan killing people in the streets, and I believe she finds her father dead and ultimately puts the blame on Ronan because he was just senselessly killing people. To her, like, he probably had a very good reason to be killing certain people in that area. It could also just be a ruse of some sort. I don't think Ronan is exactly to blame there. He might be, and who knows, Ronan probably had a good excuse to kill his father, and he was probably hiding quite a bit of his life from his daughter, so it could be some multi-layered things that we might be unfolding in the next 3 episodes, because we're already halfway through the show, which is kind of mind-blowing. And once we get more episodes in a single week, it feels like it'll go by quickly. That's why I don't like when they do that, man. I remember The Boys Season 2 did that. They released like the first 3 episodes. WandaVision released the first 2 episodes. That wasn't too bad because there were 7 more weeks later and the show continued. But I don't know, for a show that's 6 episodes long, but come on, just a show that's 6 episodes long, just do 1 week after another. The father in the flashback mentions Maya. That's her name, Maya. That's her name. He mentions Maya's uncle, and they do have a shot of the uncle kind of walking right up to her after the father leaves, and it's just like his belly. He's wearing a suit, and you see his hand, really, really thick hand, and the hand raises up, touches her cheek, and he just kind of like chuckles a little bit, and then it just cuts to her boxing. Dude, dead. If you're a little nerd sweaty like me, you've probably been watching the same videos I've been watching. By the way, the character of Echo has been announced to get their own show on Disney Plus, so that's something to take note of. But in the comics, the character of Echo has strong ties with the Kingpin. And who's played the Kingpin on screen before? That's right, Vincent D'Onofrio from the Daredevil Netflix Marvel series. Something that's totally disconnected from the MCU, was said to be connected, but really, when you're just referring to the Avengers as the Battle of New York, or the Great New York Battle, or whatever the hell they were calling it, and Hulk as the big green guy, and then nothing else was mentioned ever, and everything is happening in New York in those shows, but you don't see any Tony Stark, you don't see any Iron Man or Avengers, none of them whatsoever appear. Yeah, no, it's disconnected. In the rumor sphere, in the nerd sphere, there's talks about them bringing back those characters played by those specific actors into the MCU. Yes, as the same characters, but just different variations of those characters, different iterations. They probably won't remember the events that occurred in the shows. Those just might be like loose canon, but there's talks of Vincent D'Onofrio appearing as Kingpin, Wilson Fisk, in the Hawkeye show. I don't want to believe it yet, but I mean, That was his hand. Yes, it was. Yes, it. If they're bringing back Jamie Foxx, William Dafoe, and Alfred Molina for Spider-Man No Way Home, they're bringing back Tobey and Andrew. Like, you don't bring back their villains without bringing back the other Spider-Man. That argument could be used for if they're bringing back Vincent D'Onofrio, they're definitely bringing back Charlie Cox as Daredevil, preferably maybe in No Way Home or in a future project. Either way, I'm excited for it. Sorry for the big deviation of Hawkeye. We're going back to the present day. Kate and Clint are still trapped and captured by the Tracksuit Mafia. They're tied up to these, the pony things that you'll see at the mall when the kids ride. And they finally managed to get out, and it's just this big scuffle between them and the Tracksuit Mafia. Of course, Maya is now there. She's siding with Clint, trying to have an understanding. And it just, obviously things don't go smoothly with bad guys and good guys in the Marvel movies. Kate and Clint escape the building that they were held captive in, and they break into a car, and it's the scene that we saw for the Disney Plus day a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, it was pretty much the same scene that we saw in that presentation of Hawkeye, just a little more extended. Still really cool. I thought the camera work in here was awesome, just that panning in the car. There's some genuine comedy to be had with Clint not being able to hear correctly. He's like a dad who's hard of hearing, and he's of course training Kate to be this really defined hero or assassin, whatever you want to call her. She's trying to steer him in the direction of being a superhero in the forefront, being a figure, a role model, because that's what she sees him as. Until she finds out that he was Ronin, then I don't know. I love how Clint Barton is this grizzled veteran in the films now, in the show, I mean. And we've seen what he's been through in the movies, and there's probably a bunch of stuff in between the movies and before the movies that we just don't know about. I appreciate the show kind of growing him up as we're watching him, because he's been a character in our eyes since 2012's Avengers. Hell, he showed up in 2011's Thor, so he's been around for 10 years for us. And I like that they're growing him up a little bit, and they're making him seem like he's more advanced and grizzled than we first saw him as. That's a problem that a lot of sequels don't really do correctly. A lot of sequels, when they're going on for years and years, tend to just have the character stuck in that same place that they were in the beginning. That same character making the same choices. It doesn't illustrate growth very well and realistically. And yes, these are movies, but I would appreciate if movies would treat their characters as if they were a little realistic in terms of personality, and when it comes down to making decisions, big decisions, and do they learn from the stupid ones that they made in previous installments of their franchise. During the action sequence, Kate is going through the bag of arrows, and she's finding these very different arrows. A putty arrow or a Play-Doh arrow. It looked kind of crappy in my opinion. Like, they just put a bunch of purple crap all over the windshield of one of the Tracksuit Mafia's cars. It just looked very crappy CGI to me. I don't know about that, but the other arrows were kind of funny. I thought there's a plunger arrow that's used as a distraction, and I really enjoyed this scene. With the exception of that crappy purple crap, whatever the hell that was, I had a lot of fun with this scene. It's a really great action scene. It's a really long one too. This whole episode, maybe about half of it, is filled with action, and you can't complain about that. You can complain a little bit about the first episodes being a little slow. That's what I did, but you gotta give shows that leeway because they're shows. They're naturally gonna be longer. This show is ultimately gonna be like 4 hours long compared to a 2-hour MCU movie, so you gotta give it some leeway there. And I did. I do really enjoy those first 2 episodes, but this one really kicked it up a notch for me because I'm an action guy. And yeah, it won me over. And then after the fight, Kate and Clint go back to Kate's apartment just to chill down. There's a nice moment where Clint's younger son calls him before everyone wakes up at their house, and he's just having a nice heart-to-heart. He can't hear his son, of course, so Kate's luckily in the room, and she starts writing down everything that his son says and showing it to Clint. And it's this very adorable moment, not just between Clint and his son, but Kate and Clint. Kate is getting a first-hand experience of what this guy is outside of the person she's been hanging out with for the last few days. And I love that scene. It was a really great and heartwarming scene. I wish we got more of it. With Hawkeye in previous installments, we got a whole third act of the farm scene with his family in Avengers Age of Ultron, but if they just sprinkled more Hawkeye and more development for him across more films. Like, I feel like he 100% should have been in Black Widow, and it could have been a buddy cop thing. He should have been in Winter Soldier, and yeah, that's just my personal opinions. So guys, let me know down below, have you seen Hawkeye episode 3? Tell me down below. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and be sure to stick around because I'm currently covering the Spider-Man films in the lead up to Spider-Man No Way Home. I already got the Tobey Maguire trilogy, the Andrew Garfield duology, and now I just released the Spider-Man Homecoming review this morning. So you might want to check it out, guys. There's a lot of content coming to the channel, and there's always more to come.